You want me to put that on my Tudor?
This one's wife. Did she blackmail the royal family? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. What is blackmail? Well, blackmail is an act of coercion using the threat of revealing or publicising either substantially true or false information about a person or people unless certain demands are met. It's often damaging information, and it may be revealed, say, to family members or associates rather than to the general public. These acts can also involve using threats of physical, mental, or emotional harm, or of criminal prosecution against the victim or someone close to the victim. It's normally carried out for personal gain, most commonly of position, money, or property. Now, there's no suggestion that this one's wife did it to seek property or money, albeit they might have been achieved in an indirect fashion. It's related more to the question of position. But where does blackmail come from? Well, it's derived from the word for tribute, in modern terms protection racket, which was paid by English and Scottish border dwellers to border reivers in return for immunity from raids and other harassment. The male part of blackmail derives from Middle English mala, meaning rent or tribute. This tribute was paid in goods or labour. Reditus nigri, or blackmail. The opposite is blanche fermes or reditus albi, or white rent. An alternative version is that rents in the Scottish borders were often paid in produce of the land, called greenmail, meaning green rent, and therefore it suggests that blackmail was a counterpart paid to the reivers, again in order to receive immunity from raids and other harassment. So that's the etymology of the word. But what's the position with regard to this one's wife? Well, you have to ask, how is it that this one's wife came to be part of the royal family? Answer, she married Prince Harry. How did she come to be involved with Prince Harry? Well, there are various different explanations that have been given, but at some point in 2016, some say whilst she was still with Corey the chef, others say after the relationship had ended, she met up with Prince Harry, having made it known that she was looking for Englishmen, that she was on the hunt, that she was in London and she was seeking out Englishmen by way of seeking a boyfriend. And that contact was made with Prince Harry, a few various individuals, and they met and she ensnared him. Now, she was able to ensnare Prince Harry, as I've explained to you before, through a combination of the fact that he has a susceptibility to someone such as her, i.e. the narcissist, making it easier for him to be ensnared because his own emotional thinking clouds his judgment, causes him not to see red flags, or if he does, he doesn't take any notice of them. She utilises manipulations. So she mirrored things that he liked. She, for instance, the hobbies and interests that he would have, but also, for instance, mirroring his mother's perfume. She would have utilised sex, a major weapon of seduction. She'll have shown false compassion on the basis of him having certain problems and vulnerabilities arising from the death of his mother and the feeling that he was a spare. And a collection of all of this, combined with his own emotional thinking, made it very easy for him to be ensnared, and thus he was. Accordingly, they become boyfriend and girlfriend. He takes her on holiday. He's besotted with her. She lets you do anything, and, well, you might think she's a bit nuts, but she's so hot. He's completely smitten. A combination of her manipulative wiles and his own emotional thinking. His brother says to him, slow things down. Prince Philip says, you step out with the actress, you don't date them, you don't marry them. Caution was being expressed. But of course, Harry was besotted, and he didn't take any notice. Nevertheless, Although she secured him in the status of boyfriend and girlfriend and made him the intimate partner primary source, what she really needed to do to embed the relationship and embed him in the fuel matrix was to go further than that. She needed proper admittance to the royal family, and that meant marriage. She will have recognised that certain aspects of the royal family, certain members, were perhaps a little hesitant to include her, were perhaps less than enthusiastic about her involvement. Some of that could be born of the fact that there was a complete disconnect between her world and theirs, but also some of it will have originated as a consequence of they saw certain aspects of her behaviour that they thought weren't entirely suitable and perhaps were red flags, that there were certain warning signals. It is undoubtedly the case that vetting will have been undertaken of this one's wife to determine suitability for marriage, and also to look at, is she somebody that the royal family wants to be associated with, in order to avoid the potential for there being some kind of later exposure causing the firm considerable embarrassment. Undoubtedly this vetting took place. Now, there are a lot of background rumours associated with this one's wife, some of which are likely to be true, others not true at all. But it's certainly the case that that vetting will have unearthed some aspects which the royal family would be disconcerted by, if not outright horrified. And therefore it would call into question her suitability to enter via marriage the royal family. Not only might they have noticed that there were certain aspects about her personality that caused her to be a less than suitable fit, but also things that had occurred in her past which would raise questions and therefore would have to be dealt with. And therefore it would be far more convenient not to have to admit her in order to ensure that those things would never have to then be addressed. Yet, admitted she was engaged to Harry and they were married. Indeed, marriage occurred less than 2 years from their meeting, which is a rather quick outcome. And, as I've explained before, indicative of the necessity of the narcissist wanting to bring that intimate partner primary source under complete control through marriage. And then, of course, later, the issue of becoming pregnant. What was it that enabled this one's wife to get over that hurdle of admittance, bearing in mind the vetting process will have found aspects of her personality and conduct to be less than suitable, and therefore had raised question marks over whether she should be admitted to the royal family? She needed something that would enable her to bring that admittance about. Simple persuasion wouldn't work. Trying to suggest that she would be useful for modernising the royal family wouldn't work. There'd be plenty of other people that Harry could meet that would fall in that bracket. What she needed to be able to do was back the royal family, particularly the Queen, into a corner whereby they were left with no choice but to agree. There are 2 suggestions that have been made as to what it was that she utilised to gain that leverage over the royal family. The first is that she told Prince Harry that she was pregnant, and therefore he would have to do the right thing and marry her. Of course, one reaction to that would be to insist upon an abortion, but she could not be made to do it, and therefore there could be the whiff of scandal that if Harry ended the relationship and she was pregnant, that he would be seen as callous, and that would not reflect well on the royal family. And therefore a claim of being pregnant to bring about marriage is a possibility. Indeed, many narcissists do this. Male narcissists get the female victim pregnant in order to cement the relationship and control over them. Female narcissists become pregnant in order to cement the relationship and assert control over the male. And therefore, it is entirely conceivable that this is something that this one's wife could have done. We don't know for certain, and we may never know for certain, but it's a distinct possibility, because this is what a narcissist may well do. The narcissist must control that intimate partner primary source. The narcissist wants to get hold of the residual benefit of joining the royal family. The narcissist wants to secure that control by ensuring that there is a link between them and the victim. This prize would probably be the biggest that this one's wife would ever get. And therefore, her narcissism was raging in effect to say, don't mess this up. We probably won't get a chance like this ever again. This is a prince of the realm. You'll be able to control millions of people. You'll be able to gain fuel from millions of people. There's character traits galore. You'll be wealthy, well-known. Your facade will be amazing. Remember, she doesn't think in such terms, but the narcissism approaches it searching for those things. And here comes a dim-witted ginger prince who ticks all of those boxes, and therefore it drives her to ensure that he is brought under control and that she can become part of the royal family, which is a huge residual benefit. Therefore, like many other narcissists, the suggestion of being pregnant, either when she was or suggesting that she is even when she's not, could well have been used. And therefore, Harry may have gladly gone along with that and taken that information to his grandmother and said, you must agree that we can marry. She's pregnant. If you don't, there'll be a scandal. Hence, the Queen stating, well, I suppose I'd better agree. The alternative version is that the issue of race was used. We all know that this one's wife utilises race as a convenient means of getting to the prime aims. Hitherto, she had always held herself out as being Caucasian, and only latterly has she utilised the title of person of colour in order to allege that people have been racist towards her, in order to nullify those threats to control, and to elicit sympathy by way of pity play, again, to get control and draw fuel. Accordingly, it may well have been the case that she explained to Harry that they should get married. He, besotted with her, thinks that's a great idea, goes off to Grandma to get permission, who is hesitant. And basically, she has suggested to him, if your grandma says no, it'll look racist because I'm black. Harry, wanting to marry her because, remember, his own emotional thinking causes him to regard her as absolutely wonderful. He's delightful. He's delightfully happy. He's deliriously happy that he's got her. He doesn't realise what's coming for him. And therefore, he wants to marry her and therefore would go along with this coercion, so that if his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, expressed some form of reservation about her being admitted to the royal family through marriage, he would simply say, well, then that'll make you look racist, won't it? And therefore, in effect, the Queen was coerced into accepting the marriage proposal and granting her permission, and thus this one's wife gained what she wanted, admittance to the royal family. Again, we do not know precisely what happened, and that must be made clear, but it is certainly well within the realms of likelihood that a narcissist would use either pregnancy or race, or possibly both, to coerce the royal family into allowing the marriage to go forward so that she could fully embed Harry into her fuel matrix, assert total control over him, whilst gaining the residual benefit of entering the royal family. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.